Okay guys, how's it going? We are going to jump into Maya and see how Maya thinks in the background, how Maya organizes its files, folder structures, our system to back it up as well. So I'll be talking about, like, it's mainly two things. One would be, how can we get this thing going in our house when we are the only person working in a file, and then how can we get it going in the studio as well when there's a team of 50 people or more working in a single project. So Maya can manage all that for you as well, and it's just a matter of knowing how to indicate this to Maya. So I have Maya open here, and the first thing that I need to go and do is that in my Windows, whether you're using a Mac or you're using a PC, you have to create a folder called projects, and this is pretty much like common sense. You create that folder, and inside this folder you can create, let's say we can go for a class 1 folder, and in that class 1 we can have a lot of different things. We can have also the name of the assignments maybe instead of class 1, so this would be also personal preferences. I'm gonna show you a couple of ways of doing this thing. So now this one's class 1, and inside of class 1 you can have different Maya projects. So let's try that out for now, and then I'll show you more. So file, project, all the way at the bottom of the interface, almost from that menu, you go new, because this is a clean new project. So click on that one, and then Maya is going to bring up this window that it's asking you the name, the location of the files, and then it has all these different things down there that are empty now, and it's waiting for you to say, well, this, if I want to find the particles, where are they located, and things like that. So for the name, we can do, let's say we're creating the bouncing ball project, so just keep it like that. And on the browse button, if you click on that one, it's gonna open one more window, and it's pretty much just browsing through your computer files and folders. So go to the location, I know that mine is on the desktop, and then go to projects, and then class 1, that's the one. So you select that one, it goes in, the folder is empty, there's nothing right there. And right there I can just click or hit on the open button right there, and nothing has been happening yet. It's just indicating that that is going to be the location of the project. And then all these ones, we can populate them by clicking the use defaults button at the bottom of that window. So click on that one, you can see that now scenes is going to have a folder called scenes, images is going to have a folder called images, and so on. You can go all the way at the bottom right there, and you have different folders for different purposes. Once you click the accept button here, the window goes away. But if you go back to that window here and that folder, you're gonna find that one thing now. There's a folder now that is called bouncing ball. So you click on this one here, and now it has a set of folders within that they have been created by Maya, saying, you know, this is that folder, this is this folder here. And Maya now in that project, everything's pointing, it's organized in that sense. We can't really see it, but Maya now has variables within the project that is saying, okay, so if he saves a scene, that has to go into the scenes folder. If he creates any render, it has to go into render folder, and so on. So each one of these ones are empty. If you just go through them, like this one has more subfolders for different render passes right there. That's the render data folder. The scenes has one new folder that is called the edits, and that's for new features in Maya 2011. And you know, we have one for sound, and then source images, they're empty. So now that we have that, and you can see that now this is working. There's ways of just checking for that. If I go and click the open icon here, it's gonna open right on that folder, because I'm telling Maya, let's go and open a scene. So it actually goes onto the scenes folder automatically right there. If I go and say save the scene, even though the scene is empty, it's going to save it. I go save scene, and it's going to go into the scenes folder, which is expected. If I minimize that window and then I go to the hyper shade, so I can see the textures and I can see things related to the colors and materials, and then I double click on any of these ones and I keep on going and surfing. This might not make sense to you for now, but I'll show you a couple of things here that are related to that creation of the project. So if I go color right there and I need to find a file right here, this is going to go straight to that folder. Let me just finally click on the file. So if you open this one, it actually goes to the source images now. So Maya has been pointing to all these different folders now. So it organizes the project for us. So that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing this, it is that I'm gonna go back to the Windows so I can show you more things. The other way of doing it would be the studio way of doing it. We have here in this computer we have projects, and we go inside class 1 and then we go inside the bouncing ball, and we're assuming that this is Maya all the way along. What happens in the studio situations is that we have a lot of different packages. We have Maya, we might have Composer, we might have also Final Cut. We have like different packages. So the way that we do it in the studios is that we're gonna have under the projects, we're gonna have the title of the project, which could be movies, could be games, could be commercial work, could be whatever it would be. So we have the name of the project. For now, I'm gonna go and say this is project 1. It doesn't really matter what it is, just imagine that there's a name on that one. And once we have this one, we're gonna have folders for each one of these specific software packages that we are using. So if I go back to Maya and I create a new one here, I go project, new, I go to that same location, and just go up one more. So project 1, which is a film or animation or client, I select that location, and this is going to be called Maya, and then populate the defaults right there, and then click accept to save the location of that folder. So now if we go here to projects, we have the project number 1, and then we have one that is called Maya, and then Maya is going to have all these new subfolders that we're going to find all our files, and then people can actually go and do things in that Maya folder. The difference would be that we can have, let's say, a new folder here from After Effects. If in that project we're using any type of sound, we're going to have the Pro Tools folder. So now you can see that once you go into that folder, into that project, you're going to find that there's all these different packages, and it's way easier to organize it in that sense for a bigger production. So now you know two ways. You know the smallest way that you can name the project with your assignment, could be the bouncing ball as we saw it, or you can have a more general name that is not as specific, so people can jump into that and we can keep on building based on that, the studio way. So now that we have multiple projects, Maya offers different ways that we can switch between those projects. It's important for us to remember that before we start working on a project, we say Maya will be working on this project. We don't want to get files confused. If Maya saves them or opens them from a different location, we might not notice at the moment, but when we are backing up, that would be one of those not so pleasant surprises. Here in Windows, we have class 1, bouncy ball, that's our project, and we have project 1, which has a Maya folder. It is called Maya, but we know that's a project. How do we know? It's because it has all these things inside. So if I go to the bouncing ball has now all these ones inside. So how do I switch between those projects? I go back to Maya, I go File, Project, and Set Project. So if I click on that one, it's going to open this window and it's asking me which one would you like me to set for you. So now we have the bouncing ball, it is right there, and I want to set the other ones. So I'm going to go back 2 levels, go up 2 levels right there, and I have project, click on that one, and then Maya. There's different ways of doing this. You can just highlight the Maya folder and then click set, and then Maya is going to find if that folder has subfolders under that folder. And then the way to check is that always go to file open or click on the folder open option here on the icon. So if you click on that one, it opens right on that scenes folder. It means that it is correct. Now it's project 1, Maya, and scenes. So that is correct. If I want to switch to the other one, I will do the same thing. Project, set, go back one level, class 1, bouncing ball. You see, like now if I go all the way to scenes, I can click on that one, set, and then do the open, file open scene, so I know where this is going. So now it is opening on the scenes folder. So now by this we know that we went too far into finding that project. So let's just do it again so we can get it right. Project, set again, and go back to class 1, and then bouncing ball, that's the one that has all the information, all the structure. So if I select this one, I don't go in, but I just select it, and I go set this project, and then go file open scene. And now it has found the scenes folder by itself, which now we know, yeah, this is the way to go about it. So now we have the path would be desktop, projects, class 1, bouncing ball, scenes, just like that. And if I go file save, should be the same thing. So it should be class 1, bouncing ball, scenes, and it's saving right there. It's waiting for you to save. So this is how you switch between projects. There's an easier way of doing it that Maya has implemented. So go to the same menu, and all the way at the bottom there's a list of the most recent projects. So you can switch between this one and that one just by pretty much almost like one click. So click on this one, let it go. Open the scene, and that's Maya scenes under project 1. If I switch between this one again, go recent projects, and then now go to the bouncing ball right there, just let it go. Open the scene, and it's right there, class 1, bouncing ball, scenes. So this is how you switch between the project. To me, the hardest thing for this would be just to remember that we need to remember, okay, we'll be working on this freelance now, and we have to switch. If we don't do it, it just gets complicated, just gets a little bit messy on the file management system. So just keep that in mind before you go and start working on your recent project or a new one. We will be talking about naming conventions, which basically means how are we going to name our files in Maya. There's a lot of different ways of doing this. I will be showing you 2 ways, the simple way and then the studio way, which would be a bit more complicated, but it's also more detailed, and it just communicates better what the file is, where it was saved, how it's relating to the production, and things like that one. So if I go back to Maya, first thing that I need to go and do is set the project, remember. So project set, and I will find my folder here, the bouncing ball, and then set it right there. And if I open, just to check that the path is right there. So this is perfect. This is class 1 bouncing ball scenes. That's what we want. That is good. And then I'll be creating a sphere in the scene, just right here. So I can have something that we are looking at. And let's say that this is our scene, this is our file. So now I go and go to the menu, File, Save Scene As. It's going to take me straight to the scenes folder, which is what we want. And here, the simplest way of naming this file would be bouncing ball underscore 01. And then we're going to go 02, 03, 04. Let me just save this one as, so I can show you what I mean. Let's say that the scene is right there. Now I'll be getting now a keyframe. No object, so select this thing and then just move the sphere somewhere there so I can have a different scene. Don't worry about the things that I'm doing now with the keyframes, just pay attention to how the scene is changing, and I can go now save scene as. So this would be bouncing ball 02 right there. So by doing that, now I know if I go to the folder right here, scenes, I have ball 01, bouncing ball 01, and bouncing ball 02, which basically means, you know, there's a version 1, there's a version 2, or there's this better way of doing it, which is this one. It's the iteration 1, iteration 2, which is not, it's not specifically a new version, but it's just the same file, which is, you know, making some progress, you know, evolution in the scene from the animator. And he's just saving iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3 and 4, and then that way, you know, if you come back later, you know, days later, and you open the scene here, then you would know, okay, so this one's the latest one, instead of just going to the date and then just trying to investigate what date was saved in and all that. So you just go, oh, 02, this is the latest one, and then you open it up and it's going to open the latest scene. So now we'll see how we can save the scene with the naming convention for the studio. I will open it up again from my basic project here. I'm gonna go and go back to the bouncing ball, file open 01, which is the sphere that has no animation, and then go back to my other project here, which is the film that I'm doing here, which is called project 1. Go there and then go save scene as. Now this one, I can go to Maya right there and then scenes right here, and here I would do something different. I would call this bouncing ball, and I can go and say this is going to be could be version 01, I01, sorry, I01 right there. So what it basically means right there is that the letter V stands for version, and 01 it's version 01, and then the I stands for iteration, and that would be iteration 1 in this case. So I'm just gonna save it as like that. And if I go and do something different in the scene, like let me just set some keyframes, make some changes, and then go back here, right there. Now that the scene is different, I'm gonna go and save it, save the scene as. Now this would be a new iteration for me, and the only number that I'm changing here would be the I02, which basically means this is iteration 2, and then this is like an internal number as well. So people know in the studio, people in my team would know that I have been saving the scene constantly, because I want to be, you know, protecting our work, and this is how I do it. If that scene, if this animation goes outside the studio to the director or to the client, that would be different. So let's say that the scene, we just send it to the director, he sees it and he makes some changes. He says, you know, instead of going up here, go down. So the animator would see the notes, go back to the scene, and then make the sphere go down. So now the sphere goes down and then goes up. So that's a new version right there. And I'm just gonna go the same way, file, save scene as. Now my new name would be version 2, because that has been seen by the client or director, and then the I02 is going to go back to I01. So if I go back to the folders here, and I go back to that project here, my scenes right there, now I can see that I have 3 files. And just by looking at the numbers of the version, I know that the file left the studio at one point, or has been seen by the director and he made some changes. And that version 2, that's the version that he asked for. And if I see the I01 or the I02, those are the times that I have been saving the scene internally, or somebody in the studio has been doing that. So that's how we know the file name communicates to us in a better and more transparent and faster way. So now you know the 2 methods would be the simplest way, just keeping one number, and then the other way would be having something like this, just to identify when the scene or the file has been seen by the director here. And once again, there's a lot of ways of doing this. Just make something that makes sense to you. If this makes sense to you, just embrace any of these methods and then just use it. If you have any other method that makes more sense to you, by all means go ahead and use it as well. Naming conventions for studios. What I will do here on that window, I'm just going to duplicate, copy and paste a couple of files here so I can show you. So we can have this one, the first copy right there. I'm just going to eliminate the word copy from here. We sometimes will see that word BLK, that would be blocking. Sometimes we see from the other departments in the studio, we can see ANM, which is, this is the ANM, and this is the animation team working on that file. So you know that that file belongs to the animation team. This one, let me just delete the here. This one would be lighting, as you can guess. That is lighting. I just get rid of the copy. And sometimes what I've seen in different studios is that the compositors, which is the kind of like the post-production department, they like to have, instead of the I, they have an R, which means render. So they use that as well, just to make it more clear. So they have different versions of the R's, which is different renders. So again, these ways of naming scenes, it varies depending on the studio and on personal preferences, but yeah, for sure there is a pipeline that we all have to follow. So when you guys go into a new studio, you have to know, okay, what is a naming convention? And usually there would be a production manual, maybe. It would be like an employee manual, maybe, as well. And what would happen is that if these things don't exist for some reason, your lead or supervisor would know about this thing. So just asking, what is the naming convention we're following and what does it mean? Backing up your files basically means you want to be safe and you want to have all the files that you've been working on, especially if the computer crashes or something goes wrong. Sometimes the files themselves, they would get corrupt by magic or something like that. Sometimes you can't really open them all at all. So you have to have backups. Personal backups, of course, could be the USB key like that, or a DVD. Nowadays we have, our files are super large, so you have to have devices that you can store all these files, which is, you know, high capacity devices pretty much. So I will show you, if I go back to my scene and then to my windows here, the main thing that you have to back up, and this is what Maya is doing for you, and this is why it's so important to keep all these files in the same folder and always following the Maya structure here. If I go to my first project, which is the class 1, and then I go to the bouncing ball, you can easily and then insert this thing. There you are. Okay, so now we're gonna have our USB drive right there. So this is the backing up USB. So I can simply drag and drop this folder right there, and it's gonna copy my files into that, which is as simple as that. The important thing for this is that you have to know that all the files that you created in every single stage of the project, could be animation, could be rendering, could be creating textures, could be doing all that, they are in the same location. They are under one of these folders for sure. That's the main thing. If you did not create a project, all these files would be saved in different locations of your hard drive, and you have to go and find them. But you know, you're not gonna know, because you're gonna take this USB drive and you're gonna go to your friend's computer and you're gonna try to open it up, and it's gonna say, I can't find this file. And it's located in this path, and then you're gonna go, what? How did that happen? You know? So to prevent that, try to set the project, and then once you set it, just check it that you're gonna be saving within the folder structure. And it'll be the same for the studio. A naming convention and file system here. They would have in studios, they would have automatic backups, which happens every single day. It happens from midnight till 5 a.m. and they would just back up the project, which has all the different software, and it has a lot of the information for the complete movie, maybe like sound, audio, After Effects, as we have the folders right here. But it's basically the same thing. They want to back up this one, the one that has all this structure, which is really important to keep it that way, which is clear, it's clean, and it's organized. In conclusion, we have seen how to create Maya projects. Most importantly, we have to see how Maya thinks about all this file management. Where are the files going? We've seen that. We have also created naming conventions and store these files where they are supposed to be going to keep everything organized and clean. And we have seen now how to back it up in a very, very simple way. Once you have the whole sequence of steps here, if you have them all correct, it's really simple to back it up. So the bouncing ball. You can easily and then insert this thing. Steve Jobs, this is not ergonomic. There you are.